Hello and welcome, once again, to another Living World / Vampire the Masquerade YouTube experiment video, brought to you by Lachlan Lacuses. This evening, Lachlan finds himself moving with a little bit more ease, now that he's not in tow with a younger kindred, having to not keep up all of his appearances. He decides that he will walk out of his office before heading back home, his office in Ventru Tower, and head and visit the prince, seeing that his light is still on, and thought he would just give him a call. He is my clanmate after all, and what harm would it be to just drop in unannounced? Well, we're about to find out. He walks with a kip. His wingtips echo through the hallway, his cane taps on marble. He gets to the door of where the prince is. He lifts his cane and stands a ways away, waiting for an answer.
John is currently in the Ventru Tower's office building. It's very uncharacteristic for him. He loathes the building, much more preferring the ambience of his domain or the casino. But unfortunately, he needs the, as mundane as it is, office supplies. As he starts to print and reprint various cue cards and going through his speech for the Elysium, he's currently pacing up and down in this small office. He's secured papers in hand, basically muddling over each of the wording of the speech itself. He doesn't look up as the door knocks and goes, "Enter."
Lachlan opens the door slowly, walks in, stands with his hand on his cane, and his cigar overhanging out of his mouth that never seems to ever go out. Good evening, my prince.
Mr. Lacuses.
Yes.
How can I help you?
What was that? I'm sorry.
No. That was good first. I am doing rather well, thank you. Just busy. How are you this evening?
Oh, I find myself sitting in very well, actually. very. I'm just not going to put up with this facades anymore. I'm doing fine. I'm working on getting the influences and contacts. His demeanor completely shifts. He stands up straight, seems to have no issue needing the cane. In fact, he very hardly leans on it. He just kind of has a finger or two on it as he just saunters into the office within a few distance of the prince. Yes. Well, for the most part, I'm suiting in just fine.
John doesn't cast a blink at this change of demeanor. He suspected as much, but he doesn't want to give his clanmate the satisfaction of him gasping in surprise, so he simply carries on as normal. Any interesting developments while you've been pursuing the city?
Not a lot. I've been actually moving around and moving about quite a lot. There's an interesting Malkavian by the name of George that seems to have some interesting issues. I don't understand why he acts the way that he does sometimes, but he just does what he wants. It surprises me that someone of your stature doesn't seem to notice a shift in demeanor. It could have been a shift into violence, and you pay us no heed. Were you expecting such?
If you were decided to be violent towards me, Mr. Lacuses, which I do not believe is in your character, you would gain nothing from it. You understand that despite the fact that you are Ventru, you are newly arrived into the city. We do not have the political acumen. It would be not advantageous to you to attack me directly, despite what you may have heard, or may be promised. I only know a few kindred in the city that might be so bold as to pay off a clanmate to try and kill me. But at the moment...
Apologies. Continue.
But at the moment, I don't think they would.
Not so much that someone would pay me off, it's more the fact that somebody, it's just that it could have been anybody. You should always have your wits about you, sir. That's all I was trying, the messages to which I was trying to bring. It was actually a tactic that my sire, Alice, taught me, was to play up the fact that I look very old, but I will no longer have any more aging. I will always look this way, but it is in my best interest to sow doubt to those thinking one is weaker when they are feeble.
A lesson perhaps you should learn yourself. You say that I am unprepared. Perhaps I am more prepared than you ever know. And John will be rolling his manipulation subterfuge to pretend that he is secretly a badass.
I wish I was somebody else right now, too. I wish there was a wraith in the room to help spot that.
It was only DC 4 for me with my enchanting voice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And how would one try to see past it?
You would roll perception empathy, my good sir.
All right.
Or perception subterfuge, if you want to catch the lie. I believe it's a rule in this venue.
It was probably going to be perception subterfuge.
I thought it might be.
He has lack of empathy for a lot of things, actually. He just acts as if he has empathy. It's only 9 dice. This will be interesting. Close, but no cigar. I already have it. Oh, well. You do seem quite capable, my dear prince. I will never doubt you ever again.
So, taking the full measure of you perhaps for the first time, he stands up straight and looks you in the eye. So tell me, Mr. Lackseas, if you have been going around the city and taking the scenery, as it were, what would be your observation?
As it stands, is what I've noticed, is that it seems the Ventru holds you in esteem. Cray has some type of, I guess the current term they use would be some type of a bromance towards you. I guess that would be the current vernaculum. The Gangrel seem, at least the ones I met, seem to be easily ready to follow in a direction to stop the trespasses of the city. The Malkavians are always as elusive as they always will be, with their shattered brains. But they still have wit. They're still always looking like they think and move. They're always watching. Haven't came across any Nosferatu. Well, no, I did. The new shadow of something, Arthas or something. Don't remember his name. It doesn't seem to be important for me to even try to remember. But overall, the city is lacking any good leadership, which is about to change, I'm sure.
Just so. The people of the city are hearkening for strong rulership, which I am going to give them. I understand that my current tenure, and after this Elysium you will see, I will not be a popular ruler, but I will get the city on its feet one way or another. One way or another. So, speaking of which, how is your task to gain the clan more influence within the media, Mr. Lackland?
I actually have a early evening meeting with a young, intrepid reporter journalist. It's set up um, within a night. I will be able to get in, and then he will bring me to his boss. And then as I get to his boss, I will break his mind, and he will become ours.
It's one way of doing it. I always find over-reliance on disciplines to be rather distasteful, but it is the most direct, and I did state that we needed it in a hurry, so I do not fault you for it, Mr. Lackland.
I didn't say I was actually going to use any of my disciplines, my dear prince. I am skilled in many different aspects of politics and business. And when I say break his mind, it will be more personal than blood-related.
Intriguing. What
Apologies.
What exactly did you have in mind, if I may be so bold?
Oh, you may. It is your prerogative, after all. Now, it seems that everybody seems to have time to want to have stories and listen to the elderly and what they have to say, and I am sure that they won't put out a defenseless man when he asks a few questions about their home life and family and all such good things. Something about those lines.
John smiles. It's not a genuine smile. It's one filled with a sort of glee in the ruthlessness of your practice. It's very much a shark's grin. That is quite genius. For once, I believe I am envious of your mortal frame. Your sire showed a lot of insight.
That she did. She was very intelligent. She wanted me for my mind and my financial and political prowess. But she more so wanted me the fact that she knew that I could portray a character that every mortal always seems to let, I guess the word is, old people get away with everything. Because why could it be them? They're just senile, they're just old, oh, have pity on them, and oh, it's okay, they're just an old person, they don't know no better. It is one of the biggest faults of mortal society, their willingness to trust old people, even if they became an axe murderer. Not saying that I'm going to, but just, oh, it can't be the defenseless old man. He's just misguided. We'll put him in a home and he'll be fine. And then from the home, that old man decides to become the person in charge of the nursing home.
I have to say, after reading your presentation, I am not familiar with your sire. Not of the European court, certainly. Am I mistaken?
No, you're quite in the right direction. And the direction in which it goes is that as me of her of James then moves to other European descent. She told me to task to find more, but I do know that the roots for her line stem from Arjan Vorvis, who has brood relations with, I'm sure you've heard the name of Jan Peterson.
Of course. Every venture this side of the Atlantic has heard of Jan Peterson.
My lineage directly traces back to Arjan, through her, and then through her sire.
Ah, so you're a Hartstadt.
Yes, yes I am.
I had a wonderful little holiday in Berlin recently, dealing with the Hartstadt elders. It was an experience, I'll tell you that much.
It usually is. I am set to visit Amsterdam within 3 years' time to extend my extensive influences and knowledges in political science and financial gain. Even though I was one of the world's biggest CEOs, apparently there are still bigger corporations out there. The biggest competitor that we always seem to be running around everywhere is some oil company. Don't pay it any attention, but it's there.
Oil is always big business. We have an oil rig just off of New Sarum, owned by the Giovanni of all things.
Interesting. Are there actually the Giovanni in this city? Are they actually of that family, or are they bastardized cousins?
From my reports, I hear that there is one. They're from the lines of Dunsern and Milliner.
Not familiar with the name, but then again, I haven't met any necrophiliacs yet.
I'm surprised. From my research, the Dunserns are quite numerous within Scotland.
Oh, I'm starting to remember now. Yes, I do remember those days. The family does sound a bit familiar. And he lets slip a bit of his own Scottish accent as he describes his feelings on the matter. They always seem to have quite a lot of issues, but I didn't pay them any mind. I was a young lad at the time. I didn't pay much attention. I was more wanting to see the world and get out and do many things. So I will meet with the media. I will break him and his families and all those connected to the media. I will know and learn every person who works for the media, and they will all become bonded to me if necessary.
Excellent. You say you are an expert within business and politics, correct?
Oh, I am almost at the equivalent of a doctorate. Yes, my dear Prince.
How would you deal with this situation within the asylum?
What's the overall contention with the asylum? I'm not overly familiar with it. I haven't done that much research. I know there was a recent activity revolving around it.
Well, he says, putting his notes down, leaning back on his desk. You can see his eyes moving, as if remembering, almost like reading. You see, like flipping through a book, his eyes are going. The asylum itself is a rather large complex just outside the city limits, meaning of which the local authorities have heard. Well, the local government believes it has no jurisdiction. It is a walled facility for the criminally insane, one that was built within the last 5 years. However, before that it was something else, but all record has been expunged from any records within City Hall. The place itself is like a town. The staffing well over what a facility like that should hold. Around 150 mortals on staff, not prisoner, were herded out during an attempt to, well, exorcise the place of its malevolence. It had a private security staff, which is very odd in this country, and especially in one of those facilities. Usually, when it comes to that sort of security, they outsource, which means they are they cannot be infiltrated via our own companies. Also, unfortunately, due to the botched attempt at the raid, the National Guard have been called in to defend the place from terrorists or splinter cells or whatever they're cooking up in the media.
It is very odd that an asylum is not run by the state. Usually they're referred to as state hospitals. I know in
Entirely.
Minnesota, where I came from, Minneapolis, there's one just south of the cities, and north of Mankato is the state hospital in St. Peter. It's interesting that it's not run by the state.
Entirely. There's the very existence of this place is an enigma. The fact that it was kept off the radar, a facility that big with that many security, and no kindred saw it or knew it of its existence and did not want to integrate themselves, that's a little suspicious, especially one that simply vanishes on records. And now that the National Guard has been called, and this event has been all over the newspapers, wouldn't the mortal media be interested in digging up its mysterious past and trying to figure out all these strange loopholes and oddities within it?
Now that is quite the conspiracy. When you think about it and you break it down, the fact that the media won't cover such a large facility, the fact that the National Guard has come in to guard it, a mental institution, the fact that even when you look at the attempted raid and shuffling the people, it is almost there as an influence that is running in within the media, or something in control there in the media that is stopping them from getting there. There's many different conspiracies out there, one of which I'm sure you may or may not be familiar with is the New World Order, where a lot of conglomerates and big corporations, you could get into conspiracies and think Illuminati and Bilderbergs and Tartarus Club and all of those things. Usually it leads to that this facility sounds more and more like it is a big business / mortal endeavor. It has to be run by mortals then, because of the vampire and the kindred of the city, especially ones that's older, have been around as long as some of them, I'm sure, in New Sound, haven't touched it or gone after it. The fact that there are two within the city is even more interesting. That it is more and more looking like some type of affront. I'm sure that is where it must lie. Do the Anarchs show any interest in it or deal with it at all?
Not since the Troubles started. I'm not sure how much you've heard, but the asylum is the source of a particular ailment infecting the dreams and thoughts and giving waking hallucinations to some of our populace. It is a troubling sight. The current theory, since it is being, let's just say, looked after by a Malkavian called Dr. Mogans, is that a very old Malkavian is sleeping within it, and it dreams and it wishes to awake.
No, we're talking antediluvian.
Don't speak heresy.
I'm just making sure you weren't, dear sir.
Antediluvian.
Apologies, Methuselah, then.
Yes, something a little bit more realistic. I didn't think you believed in fairy stories, Mr. Lackland.
Sometimes stories can tell you everything. You just have to read between the lines.
No, not an antediluvian. Something very old. Methuselah, perhaps. It hasn't been the first recorded incident in which an elder has woken up and, well, whatever left of their mind after such a long period of torpor isn't good for the rest of us. Especially a Malkavian one whose grip on reality will be tenuous at best.
How are the local mirrors reacting to it?
It appears that at least the two I have reports on, Heikel and George, who you mentioned, believe it is a place of wonderment, that the awakening will bring peace and prosperity and rainbows and fluffy unicorns to all the good boys and girls. They also visit.
Actually, then, you should approach it in the sense of reversal. Not so
Oh,
much fluffy unicorns, but the opposite. Darker, more malevolent, more chaotic. It is. That is usually how a foresight I have noticed works with some of the Malkavians. Is the shinier it is, the darker and more horrible it actually really is.
well, the two did visit and spoke with Dr. Mogans, and the young Mr. Walker has shown signs of domination. I haven't had a chance to interview him myself yet. I suspect they have been affected by either this thing or Dr. Mogans to prevent any further tampering with whatever is going on.
Interesting, very much. It does concern me, though. Overall, what is your plan, Prince, to deal with said asylum?
The direct route will not work. For all the trading and influence that was attempted, it is too much of a city. Too many mortals, too much media attention. So I believe I should use that to our advantage and invest in media and local government. Try and move the bloody thing away. Such level of oddities will surely not last for long, and if the media can be pushed to dig a little deeper, then public outcry can force the place to close down, and then we'll be free to eviscerate whatever this thing is.
So let me accomplish taking the media, and then once I get them all under heel, I will then tell the editor that he will focus on this building and they will push all of their influence and continue to cover only the asylum, and no other news is important enough. And that should generate some heat.
With any luck, this Dr. Mogans will present himself, since I'm the new prince. If he does not, then we have every right to kill him under the traditions. We'll see which way he jumps when we put the heat on.
Yes, not very well. Well, my dear prince, it seems it is time for me to get, make sure I get right. He gets himself up from his chair. I think I have plenty of business to go and take care of this before I need to sleep. Yes, I'm getting quite exhausted. So if you'll excuse me, I'll head my way to the Haven, and the first thing in the next eve, I will make sure that I take care of the business immediately.
Excellent. One last thing before you go, Mr. Lackland.
Yes, go ahead.
He picks up his notes again, grabbing the pencil. What's a good word for a rebirth of the city? A catchy phrase for the presentation of my new reign. I don't want to simply just say restructuring or renewal. It's too, how shall I put it, revolutionary. Something a little bit more catchy that all the kindred can get behind and repeat and believe in.
Backlund leans back in his chair, and he thinks and thinks. Seems to take his time. And, well, I've always been a fan of, let's see, what was it? Oh, my old age really gets the best of me sometimes.
Well, I've never been a PR representative. I enjoy reading and I enjoy the English language, but I am no poet, Mr. Lackland.
I usually make other people write my speeches, but I am always partial to a the word revivification or Renaissance always seems to have a good kindred feel to it. Let's see. Resurgence, realization, revival.
The resurgence of the Camarilla.
Quite. That's a good one. I like it.
I don't like revivification. It reminds me of vivisection.
Yes, that will be a good one, I think. Well picked, my prince.
Thank you.
Most welcome. I will take my leave this evening.
Are you sorted within the city? Do you need any assistance?
I just need to have a permanent driver. That would be about all. Retainer. Haven't got around to getting one yet.
Unfortunately, they're on short supply. You may borrow Alfred if you wish, very briefly, if you need someone to drive you around.
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much. I will definitely look forward to it. There was an applicant that appeared on my table when I first got to the city. Mr. Lambrad. He seemed interesting enough. I will have to meet with him. But thank you. He gets up, resumes his hobbled demeanor, and continues to walk with a gait. His wingtips echo, his demeanor shifts to that of an old man with back pains. Continues down the way to the door and looks back at the prince and just smiles and subtly shifts his demeanor, letting the prince know that he knows about what he really is. Then he walks out for the evening, gets to the town car. Alfred, I presume, please, take me to my yacht, if you would. I have to rest and prepare for work.
Of course, my lord.
Thank you. Gets in the back of the car, sits down. His demeanor shifts back to that of the posed, well-trained kindred that he is. And that was where we will end our scene this evening. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. Follow me for more of my videos. And as always, we'll see you next time.